A Mockingbird, Chapter 17. Jim, are those Ewell sitting down yonder? Hush, Mr. Tate's testifying. In your own words, Mr. Tate. Well, I was called. Could you say it to the jury, Mr. Tate? I was fetched by Mr. Bob Ewell yonder, the night of November 21st. I was just leaving my office to go home when Mr. Ewell came in. Very excited he was and said, get out to his house quick, some N-word raped his girl. And what did you find? Found her lying on the floor in the middle of the front room, one on the right as you go in. She was pretty well beat up. I asked her who hurt her, and she said it was Tom Robinson. So I went down to Robinson's house and brought him back. She identified him as the one, so I took him in. That's all there was to it. I asked her if he beat her like that. She said yes, he had. Asked her if he took advantage of her, and she said yes, he did. Thank you. Any questions, Atticus? Yes. Did you call a doctor, Sheriff? Did anybody call a doctor? No, sir. Didn't call a doctor? No, sir. Why not? It wasn't necessary, Mr. Finch. She was mighty banged up. Something sure happened. It was obvious. But you didn't call a doctor. While you were there, did anyone send for one? Fetch one? Carry her to one? No, sir. He's answered the question 3 times, Atticus. I just wanted to make sure, Judge. Sheriff, you said she was mighty banged up. In what way? Well, she was beaten around the head. There was already bruises coming on her arms, and she had a black eye coming. Which eye? Her left. Was it her left facing you, or her left looking the same way you were? Oh, yes, that'd make it her right. It was her right eye, Mr. Finch. Sheriff, please repeat what you said. It was her right eye, I said. Mr. Finch, I remember now, she was banged up on that side of the face. Her arms were real bruised up, too, and there were definite finger marks all around her throat. All around her throat? At the back of her neck? Yes, sir, she had a small throat. Anybody could have reached around it with... Just answer the question. Yes or no, please, Sheriff. Yes, sir. What's this all about, Reverend? Robert E. Lee Ewell? Every town the size of Macomb had families like the Ewells. No economic fluctuations changed their status. People like the Ewells lived as guests of the county in prosperity as well as in the depths of the Depression. No truant officers could keep their numerous offspring in school. No public health officer could free them from congenial defects, various worms, and the diseases indigenous to filthy surroundings. Macomb's Ewells lived behind the town garbage dump in what was once a Negro cabin. The varmints had a lean time of it, for the Ewells gave the dump a thorough gleaning every day, and the fruits of their industry, those that were not eaten, made the plot of ground around the cabin look like the playhouse of an insane child. One corner of the yard, though, bewildered Macomb. Against the fence, in a line, were 6 chipped enamel slop jars holding brilliant red geraniums, cared for as tenderly as if they belonged to Miss Maudie Atkinson. People said they were Mayella Ewells. Mr. Robert Ewell, that's my name, Captain. Are you the father of Mayella Violet Ewell? Well, if I ain't, I can't do nothing about it now. Her ma's dead. Are you the father of Mayella Ewell? Yes, sir. Mr. Ewell, would you tell us in your own words what happened on the evening of November 21st, please? Well, the night of November 21, I was coming in from the woods with a load of kindling, and just as I got to the fence, I heard Mayella screaming like a stuck hog inside the house. What time was it, Mr. Ewell? Just 4 sundown. Well, I was saying, Mayella was screaming fit to beat Jesus, so I dropped my load and I run as fast as I could. I run up to the window and I seen that black N-word yonder rutting on my Mayella. Mr. Jem, you better take Miss Jean Louise home. Mr. Jem, you hear me? Scout, go home. Dill, you and Scout go home. You gotta make me first. I think it's okay, Reverend. She doesn't understand it. I most certainly do. I can understand anything you can. Ah, hush. She doesn't understand it, Reverend. She ain't 9 yet. Mr. Ewell, you will keep your testimony within the confines of Christian English usage, if that is possible. Proceed, Mr. Gilmer. Mr. Ewell, you say you were at the window. How'd the room look? Well, it was all slung about like there was a fight. What did you do when you saw the defendant? Well, I run around the house to get in, but he run out the front door just ahead of me. I saw who it was all right. I was too distracted about Mayella to run after him. Then what did you do? Why, I run for Tate quick as I could. I know who it was all right. Past the house every day. Thank you, Mr. Ewell. Just a minute, sir. Can I ask you a question or two? Mr. Ewell, folks were doing a lot of running that night. Let's see, you say you ran into the house, you ran to the window, you ran inside, you ran to Mayella, you ran for Mr. Tate. Did you, during all this running, run for a doctor? Wasn't no need to. I seen what happened. Weren't you concerned with Mayella's condition? I most positively was. I seen who done it. Did you not think the nature of her injuries warranted immediate medical attention? What? Didn't you think you should have had a doctor immediately? Never thought of it. Never called a doctor in my life. Would have cost me $5. Do you agree with Sheriff Tate's description of Mayella's injuries? Mr. Tate testified that her right eye was blackened and that she was beaten around the, oh yeah, I hold with everything Tate says. You do. That her right eye was blackened and she was, I holds with Tate. Her eye was blackened and she was mighty beat up. Mr. Ewell, can you read and write? Objection. I don't see what witnesses' literacy has to do with case. Irrelevant and immaterial. Judge, if you'll allow the question, plus another one, you'll soon see. All right, let's hear it, but make sure we see, Atticus. Overruled. I'll repeat the question. Can you read and write? I most positively can. Will you write your name and show us? I most positively will. How do you think I sign my relief checks? I was becoming nervous. Mr. Ewell was endearing himself to his fellow citizens. You're left-handed, Mr. Ewell. And what's so interesting? Judge, I'm a Christ-fearing man being taken advantage of by this tricking lawyer. Tricking men like him will always be taking advantage of me all the time with their tricking ways. That's all, Mr. Ewell. Thank you. We've got him.